I love that you cover subplots as well, because no one else talks about it.
I think that's true. I haven't seen very many people talk about subplots.
No, they don't. And so I talk about three different subplots. Your supporting subplot, the heart plot, and the antagonist as a subplot.
Mm.
So I want to know, when did you stumble on subplots? Because you don't really find it anywhere. And how did you kind of start realizing this is what scripts need?
So I mean, that's such an interesting question, because I think, I don't really know. Now, maybe because of all that background in theater, I might have thought of that. But I'm more conscious about having developed it early on. And I think maybe when I really began consulting
Yeah.
and began breaking down, because the method I used was actually was like a graph, and I color coded all the plot lines, and
Oh,
all of a
really?
sudden, yeah,
Oh, that's
and
a good idea.
I developed this method so you visually could see what that script looked like. You could, lay it
Yeah,
out and
that's
visualize the
cool.
whole script. And I had little marks for conflict points and momentum, and I had all these different color codes, which sometimes people would look and say, "Are you kidding?" And then they looked more carefully. They said, "That really helps me understand." My green dropped out for 50 pages. Yeah, the green was your
Yeah.
subplot story. And I think it was this method of color coding that made me aware of how these storylines intersected, and where they
Yeah.
went, and how they built, and how they were structured. And so by the time I wrote Making a Good Script Great, which was about 1987, I was writing it, I had really worked a lot with that.
Developed it. Yeah. One thing I find when I get scripts from clients is they'll be really light. So they'll come in maybe 70 pages, maybe 60 pages. And that's when I started realizing, because it's all main plot. It's all A plot.
Yes.
And I started thinking, okay, we need to start bringing in subplots. And then I started going, okay, what are subplots?
Yes.
And start
Yeah.
figuring it out. And I think that is one thing, is that writers can get lost on just trying to tell the main story. And they don't realize that you can use the subplots as ways to support the theme, or even
Yeah.
be like an antithesis to the theme, right?
Yeah, because I see the plot as the direction and the subplots are the dimension, but they also have to influence and relate to the plot line. I had a rather famous client many years ago, had written one of those films that everybody knows. And she
Mm-hmm.
came to me because she was so stuck. And I said, you're so overburdened with subplots, you don't have that directional story. She did not want to hear that. She said,
Oh,
"Well, I'm most interested in subplots." And I said, "Yes, most writers are, because they're more dimensional,
yeah,
but without that forward motion." And one of the movies I sometimes use as an example is Stand By Me.
right.
If they were not searching for the dead body, which is your directional story, all you'd have is boys wandering around in the woods.
Yeah,
So even if that directional story is less screen time than the
yeah.
dimensional stories, you don't want to lose it. You just, keep going. It's like the Titanic better crash. And, because if there's not something, otherwise you're just on a cruise to New York, and
Yeah,
it's a no big thing. And if you notice, this crash is actually happening in Act Two. I think it's at the midpoint in that
right.
case. But you have a lot of things layered in about this ship is unsinkable and is this great. And of course, we all know the Titanic story. And we know when we see this. My cousin was once standing in line for a movie, And she didn't realize that James Cameron, who did Titanic, was behind her, and they got to
Really?
talking, and something came up about the Titanic, and Miriam said to him, I don't know, I'd want to go see that. I know the ending. And then she said, I realized this is Jim Cameron behind me. I go, no.
That's hysterical. Oh, that's great. All right. So with subplots, one thing I found is it's a great way to develop inter-character relationships, of course, but also a way to reveal more layers and depth of your central character.
Yes, yes. And even sometimes your other more supporting characters who might be carrying the theme even more than your central character.